his late uncle Benzion Olswang and his partner Mr. Abram Katz. They started the idea of building a shul at Malmesbury when the congregation had grown. And they eventually laid the foundation stone. And I have a picture of my uncle taken on the day the foundation stone was laid. I think it, at least, I'm not sure, but I think it was on that day. He passed away as a very young man. After so many years now, the shul no longer serves a purpose as a shul because the congregation has dwindled very, very drastically. And the municipality bought it and have now decided to turn it into a museum and allocate one section of the shul to the Jewish community who lived in Malmesbury during all those years. And we the survivors, as it were, are now congregating there today for the opening of the museum. The Jewish part will only be opened early next year when we have assembled all the pictures and memorabilia. On Monday night, I had as many old Malmesburyites as could possibly walk, crawl, or whatever up the steps of our house. And we had a wonderful evening exchanging old memories and pictures. So this whole affair starts today, and David very, very graciously has offered to take Louis and myself to the shul where the two of us were married. Of the people who were here the other night, I cannot remember any wedding I attended, barring the one of our old Cheder teacher whose wife is still with us and was here on Monday night. As most of the young people went to town to get married, or otherwise they had left already for the city and got married there. But Louis and I were married there in 1936. That is how many years ago? That will be
nearly 55.
That will be 55 years.
In December. 20th. It'll be 55.
Yes.
Mrs. Bass, can I ask you two questions before we get on the road? Firstly, for someone who grew up in Malmesbury, you speak very nice English. How is that?
I don't. I'm very aware of the fact that my accent, as a matter of fact, when I was about 11 years old, I did have an elocution teacher, and she taught me how to speak English beautifully. I read the way she taught me, but I dared not speak because my brothers would have laughed their heads off. So I just sort of stayed the way I am. And sometimes when I'm on the phone and somebody else on the other side speaks beautifully, I try to emulate, but it's not very successful.
Can I ask you one other question, please? I mean, this is a long time ago we're speaking about, and you mentioned a lot of people are not with us any longer. Can I just ask you, how are you feeling within yourself?
Within myself, I feel very good. I really feel wonderful today because I'm going back to where I was very, very happy. We had a wonderful childhood. We lived in a lovely house, very near the school. I had a wonderful family.
So it's very much the good old days.
So very much the good old days.
What about these days now? Do you think they're not so good, or do you think they're all right too?
They're wonderful. I've been very good.
And there it is. Downtown Malmesbury.
Ja, ek het nou die wat saam gaan vir hoorplat. Asseblief, ek hoor dit nou. Oeh, ek is so bly. Ek gaan die 29ste uit. Sy gaan saam en die Lena gaan saam en die Jan gaan saam en ek kry hoorplat. Luister, hulle wil nou net hoor wat ons praat. Jy gaan nou vir ons vertel sy die sittery hier so net. Ag, toe jy net ja, vir die museum iets gegee. Lyk dit mooi om te net by te raak.
Wat weet ons nog thuis? Hier is nog hier.
Je moet oppassen dat je de toe verloren. Eén dag op. Als hij weg, hè. Dus maar wees rustig.
Time for change.
Wat draai ik nou niet? Als het weer klaar is,
Ja, nee, nee, als hij weer terug is.
dan draai ik.
Dan eerst nog even. Ja, even gevraagd.
Meneer Van Dijk, dat ik hem voorstel. Het is mijn vrouw, Judith, meneer Van Dijk.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Dick.
Kun je een beetje later video's maken?
Dick, kijk.
Ik ben net een beetje wachten en ik wil ook weer herstellen. Dus je mag niet wat.
Oh, wacht. Goed.
Oh, that is real. Yes. That's okay. That's okay.
We can't go in.
Nee, not so late.
They're not allowing us in at the moment.
Oh, die nieuwe kerk. Die nieuwe gemeente.
Hoe die, ja.
Daar zijn we. En nou, ons gaan nu af.
The mayor is arriving. The mayor is arriving in a horsey. You know that we used to go to Evansdale every. David, that's exactly the same as the cart my father used to have.
Say that a bit louder, Mom.
My father had one exactly like that, and we used to go, a special drive was to go to Evansdale every Saturday. Oh, yeah.
Are you comfortable?
Yes. Don't you know where the first David?
Baie dankie nou vir die aandag. Ons vra nou dat die voortrekkerkommando vir ons die vlaghysing sal waarneem, vir ons skriflesing en gebed waarneem, om ons museumopening amptelik te doen. Ons vra nou vir verkenner Thomas Beton om vir ons die parade waar te neem asseblief.
Wekkers! Spanning! Yes! Spanning! Op! Parade, op! Lek, rust! Klapper aan, uitbouw, voorwaarts, go! Maak niks zacht uit. Vloei vlag. Op, lek, rust.
Die kussie is deur die Malmesbury gemeenskap aan generaal Jan Smuts geskenk. En die kussie is gemaak van die hout van die boom waaronder hy as klein kind gespeel het op die plaas. So ek kan vir daai kussie en vir hierdie mooi dogtertjie ook lekker aan het was.
Net waar jy wil, dit kan jy glo, dit kan jy glo. Met sy koringblom en sy rypen graan, die Swartland bly maar bo. Dankie dames en heren, ek is nou nie eintlik Pavarotti nie. Ek het net 'n versie gesing van ons skoollied toe die lese was Aude et Prevalibus, aanhouer wen. Try and you will succeed. Ons principaal was meneer S.J. Malherbe, ou Lippie. Ek weet nie of daar nog mense is wat hom onthou nie. Anyway, dit is vir my 'n besondere voorreg om vanoggend hier voor my ou sinagoge te kom staan en my waardering uit te spreek aan al die mense wat iets te doen gehad het met die opstelling van hierdie museum. Soos ek die ding verstaan, is die museum, soos die burgemeester gesê het, uit die Griekse mythologie. Maar vandag staan ons hier wat die Malmesbury se Afrikaner mense en Engelse mense en gekleurde mense vir ons hulde bring aan ons Joodse pioniere, mense wat hulle spore hier getrap het in Malmesbury vanaf die begin van die eeu. Ek sal nie lang hou nie, because daai sonnetjie brand warm en ek ken die Malmesbury se son, because ek was hier gebore, St. Francisstraat. En hier is mense getroud. Ek het my bar mitzvah hier so gehad. Dis wat ons aangeneem word op die 13 jaar. So is dit vir my 'n groot plesier om vanoggend hier te staan en my dank en waardering uit te spreek aan die mense. Mevrou Meyer het in my aanraking gekom in Augustus maand en gesê dat 'n gedeelte van hierdie museum afgebaken sal word as hulde tot die Joodse gemeente van voorheen. Augustus as Bertha Cohen, en Malmesbury se nooi, sy lyk vandag nog net so pragtig soos sy was.
Hoor.
Ja. Was wat van Malmesbury nog onthou het. Sy is die enigste sambrief in die ons moes uitvind wie is nog daar oor van die Malmesbury se familiemense. En die maandag aand het ons 18 mense by mekaar gekry. Daar was is die hele die gesegde en die gevoel en die gedoente is. En kyk hoe lyk hulle nou. Na al die jare. So ek het gesê, ons hoop, as die Here vir ons spaar, dat ons in die vroege nuwe jaar hier kan wees, dat die, en ek hoop, ons sal allemaal hier wees, om die uitstalling te sien, wat die nageslag van ons Joodse voorbarenbrekers van Malmesbury hier sal bring. Ons soek al goedjies, ons het al goedjies, en dat sal vir die baie interessant. Now, I just want to say a few words in English. And it is mainly a repetition of what I've just said. The gentleman who spoke before me spoke about my father. My father came to South Africa early in 1899. He was a young man, as things go, at 32 years of age. But as you know, in those days, I don't suppose they had chic razors or electric shavers in Lithuania. He came from Lithuania. So he grew a beard. And for years and years, Tobias Kretsma was known in Malmesbury as Swartbart Jood. Nou, ons is trots dat hy Swartland Jood was, want hy het jare in Malmesbury sy voorgetrek. Een van sy beste vriende was oom Piet van die Westhuizen van Rosenberg. En ek sal nooit oom Piet vergeet nie. Ek het baie met my pa saam gery, Rosenberg toe. En dan praat hy met oom Piet. Hy het 'n kakie broek aan en 'n kakie hemp en 'n lap kakie hoed. En dan gesels hy die ou mense van die Bybel en so aan. En ek onthou dit so duidelik. Elke slag wat oom Piet gepraat en die Here se naam genoem. Die Here of God. Dan staan hy stil, al hy sê af. He made a curtsy because he mentioned the Lord's name. That was the man of Jan Smuts, and that was the man with whom my father was a great friend. Then there was Peter T. Nelson. Of us, who are the remnants of the old Jewish community. Our appreciation and thanks to his worship and Madam Mayoress and the museum committee and all who helped to contribute to what we are going in to see just now, and which I hope, please God, to see at the beginning of next year. And we shall try and erect a beautiful, suitable memorial to our parents, that it shall remain as a heritage, not only to our children and our grandchildren, but to the grandchildren, the children and grandchildren of the population of Malmesbury. And I want to tell you, the last time that I attended a religious service in this synagogue was in 1929. That's what? 62 years ago. 62 years ago was the last that I prayed in this synagogue before I left Malmesbury to go to Scotland to study medicine. I've been back here many times, and once I remember this window here, it was just open the slightest little bit, and I climbed in there after I came back from Scotland, got married. My wife and I, we climbed in here, we went into the inside of the synagogue, and my heart was very sore. I shall not climb through the window this morning. I shall go through that door that's been opened by a key, which is in a box from the tree under which General Smuts played. The last time before the war that I saw General Smuts, when I was like a member of the Voortrekkers, I was in the boys' gallery to him, just out on the right-hand side there of the bridge. And I remember General Smuts and Mr. Henderson, he had a jewellery shop. They walked past us, and I remember General Smuts saying to Mr. Henderson, "I think you can dismiss him now, because this is very hot." Dames en heren, ons het nou gesels van heinde en vers, maar ek moet vir u op die einde van die woord sê, dat regtig, my vrou het my gesê maandag aand, "Oh, but you got so enthusiastic, you got so excited." I want to tell you that I am excited, because this is an event not only in the life of Malmesbury, it is an event in the life of all time. Thank you all very much indeed. And may God bless you all, and may God bless Malmesbury, so die koring sal groei en die wyn sal groei.
John?
There we go.
Kan water.
Angstel in die harenvlegcompetitie. En ik heb beweerd daar waar die kunstuitstalling is. Die harenvlegcompetitie gaat nou begin. Jullie moet net jullie eigen tent toe alsjeblieft. Die kinders, jullie wat hou van stokbrood. Hier achter my rug zit 'n tannie met baie lekker deeg en lekker stokke. Jullie kan vir julle 'n heerlike stokbrood gaan braai daar. Stop hem vol botter en kombuis. Harenvlegcompetitie en die kunstuitstalling die tent.
Here we are.
Mr. and Mrs. Resnick were married for 9 years.
Yes.
When we came from Heilbronn in the Free State, and Mrs. Resnick had no children, and she used to come every day to take me for a walk. And then 10 years, just after that, she became pregnant, and they had their little boy Jules, and he got polio and died as a very young child. And then afterwards, she had Benny and Jaime and Sebi, who we saw there.
Yeah.
And Mr. Friedman and Mrs. Friedman, they had a little shop. This is somebody from
Where's your folks? Where's your father?
Hang on, Dad.
Chin. This is the grave of Mr. Chin, whose wife was at our wedding, and she did all the tables, Mrs. Chin, and she's reserved her place here next to her husband. These are Mr. and Mrs. Katz, Annie Katz, and Aaron Soto, but they're not the Katzes who were here originally because they left Malmesbury. And here's Daniel Baynard. And lately, you know Daniel?
Yes.
Whose son Ian is friendly with Tony.
Mm-hmm.
He died as such a young man, 42 years old. And his wife died lately.
At the beginning of this year.
Here. And this, I think my father was the first. My father actually collected the money to start, although this whole plot was donated to the Jewish congregation by Mr. van der Westhuizen, a farmer who loved the Jewish people, and he was wonderful to them. But still they had to sort of have some funds to maintain it, and my father went out collecting for funds. I remember the day, I was 11 years old, and my father came home and he said, well, we've got all the money now we can start using the place. Who's going to be the first one? And very sadly, he was the first one, and he was a Cohen, and the two hands indicate that he was a Cohen. And
This is your father's stone?
This is my father's. Well, you know about the two hands,
Yeah.
Cohen. For the Kohen, to indicate
The blessing
that
of
he
the
was a Kohen.
Kohanim.
Yeah, that was the blessing of the
Yeah.
Kohen, the two hands, yeah. And 8th of June 1926, my father passed away. In his sleep.
1926?
He'd never been to a doctor, he'd never been to a dentist. and he just went to sleep, and the next morning he was gone. This was the family churn. They had 9 children, and the oldest son died at 17. It was a tragic day for Malmesbury. I remember his grandparents. Now his father died at 72. His mother died at the age of 50, and he died at 42. And there were 7 sons, and there's not a single survivor of that family. This was a bachelor who owned a pub, and this bachelor, he was quite well-to-do. He always used to give us a 6pence or tikkie when he used to. He spent every single yontif. Every single yontif from the day we came to Malmesbury, spent every single yontif with us. And after my father died, he never ever came near the house again. He just couldn't.
Levine.
Listen.
Aaron Levine and Chaya Levine.
Well, I'm not quite sure. This was a couple. They say 87 and 84. I think they were over 100. David, that was the most dreadful. It was a little zinc thing.
Yes.
It was so faulty. It
Yeah.
was so neglected. And it had a little door at the back where they used to remove the buckets, you see.
Yeah.
The jam factory used to come.
The jam factory.
But we always called it the jam factory because the jam factory was situated at the end of St. Thomas Street.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to dump this all there. And the boys used to open the little door at the back when the girls used to go. Can you imagine it?
At night.
So one day I knew that they were up to these things. So I wouldn't sit on the seat, I would stand on the seat. But it was dangerous to stand on that seat because there was always somebody to always sort of like fouled it up. And I slipped and I went right into the bucket. I'll never forget that day as long as I live. And I had to go back to the cheder, and I went to the tap and I stood under the tap and I let my shoes and socks all get washed off. And then I sat in the class, and every time I put my foot down, it went squish, squish. And the Rebbe said, "Wer macht das?" And then we'd all sit below. Wer macht
This is what we knew, yeah.
This was our house. This is the house where we lived. But of course it was nothing like this. It was all white, and it had a vine growing right round the house. I'll show you pictures of it when I get home. And for the rest, the windows upstairs and downstairs had inside shutters. So these 2 windows were my mother and father's main bedroom.
The downstairs.
No, upstairs. The bedrooms were all upstairs. That was my parents' bedroom. Right at the end, there was the bedroom of the boys.